BRICS grouping of developing economy giants invites 6 new members to join, adding nearly $3 trillion in GDP to the bloc. The global markets are waiting for the speech by U.S. Fed boss Jay Powell later in the day, with traders increasingly worried the bank will hike interest rates further. And China Northeast Asia Expo is underway in Changchun, Jilin Province, serving as a platform to help boost trade and investment in the region. From CGTN headquarters here in Beijing, this is Global Business. I'm Michelle Vandenberg. BRICS has invited 6 new members: Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. The announcement was made on Thursday at the 15th BRICS Summit in Johannesburg. The leaders of existing members nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, made a joint media statement and delivered individual speeches. Daniel Arab Moy reports from Johannesburg.
The 5-member bloc reached a consensus on the guiding principles, standards, criteria, and procedure of admission into the BRICS community of nations. The first phase has seen the admission of 6 new members into the bloc.
We have decided to invite the Argentine Republic, the Arab Republic of Egypt, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates to become full members of BRICS. The membership will take effect from the 1st of January 2024.
The leaders have tasked the bloc's foreign ministers to further develop the BRICS partner country model and a list of prospective partner countries. Their report is expected to be submitted to the leaders during the next summit to be held in Russia.
Now, the GDP of the BRICS is going up to 37% of the world's GDP in terms of purchasing power and 46% in terms of the world's population.
The 6 new members of the BRICS community are expected to bring to the table close to $3 trillion, with Saudi Arabia alone bringing in $1 trillion. Egypt currently makes up $0.4 trillion, while Ethiopia will be coming in with $0.15 trillion.
The expansion and modernization of BRICS is a message that all institutions in the world need to mold themselves according to changing times.
According to the Chinese President Xi Jinping, the expansion is a new starting point to the BRICS cooperation agenda.
This membership expansion is historic. It shows the determination of BRICS countries for unity and cooperation with the broader developing countries. It meets the expectations of the international community and the common interests of emerging market countries and developing countries. Let us work together to write a new chapter of emerging market countries working together in unity for development.
The leaders reaffirmed their readiness in exploring opportunities for improving the stability, reliability, and fairness of the global financial architecture. They collectively agreed to task finance ministers to consider the issue of local currencies, payment instruments, and platforms and report back by the next summit. The summit also hosted leaders from Africa and the Global South in the BRICS Africa Outreach and BRICS Plus dialogue. According to the leaders, BRICS has embarked on a new chapter to build a world that is fair, a world that is just, a world that is also inclusive and prosperous. Daniel Arab Moy, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Meanwhile, politicians and businessmen are also lauding their countries joining the BRICS bloc. Some of them from Argentina, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia expressed their positive views to CGTN. Take a listen.
Argentina was, is, and will be an integrationist country. It is a state policy to seek integration on different levels, both regionally and globally, because it has been proven that in this way we increase our possibilities of opening new markets.
There's a moral boost from this membership which will enhance the general mood of the public, infused by the economic pressure they've been feeling. Joining an economic bloc with this magnitude boosts confidence in the Egyptian markets.
Saudi Arabian officials have expressed their appreciation toward China and Russia's support for their membership request. China has backed Saudi Arabia due to the strategic ties between both nations. The leadership here believes it was China's continued support that led to Saudi Arabia's invitation to join.
Now let's get to our correspondent Joel Richards, who is standing by in Buenos Aires to give us the perspective from Argentina. Hi there, Joel. So what has been the reaction from your side?
Hi, Michelle. Well, all of the 6 nations that will be joining the BRICS on the 1st of January in 2024 do so with their each unique and individual context in terms of the politics and the economic context. And in the case of Argentina, we're just a couple of months away from presidential elections, and the country is also mired in an economic crisis. So it's perhaps that's the framework in which we can think about how the reaction has been here in Argentina. The president, Alberto Fernandez, for the Peronist centre-left governing coalition, said that this is a historic opportunity for Argentina. It will open up new markets, and he says it also gives Argentina a place at the table, if you like, with the big decision makers in the emerging markets. Elsewhere, yesterday we saw 2 of the opposition presidential candidates saying that under their presidency Argentina would not form part of the BRICS. So we see different reactions from the political establishment, and that, as I said, that in turn shapes the reaction that we've seen both amongst Argentines and also in business sectors. There's a real feeling that if we look at the economy, then this could be a major boost for Argentina. We mentioned the crisis. Argentina has depleted foreign reserves, triple-digit inflation, pressure on the peso, so it's in desperate need of some good news, and joining the BRICS should expand its trade. Argentina already has 3 of its 5 destinations for its exports. The largest destinations, China, Brazil and India, are already members of the BRICS. So by joining the BRICS group, there's the hope that those destinations, those export destinations will also expand. Elsewhere, there's also the expectation that by joining the BRICS group, there's then greater access to funding, to finance, but also to investment from the new development bank, the likes of soft loans that would put Argentina in a better position if it can access that loans and investment from that bank. As you know, Argentina is in ongoing negotiations with the International Monetary Fund over the repayment of its $44 billion debt. And as we said, there's pressure on the peso, the rising inflation. These are all considerations to have. So I think most Argentines will say that they're hopeful that it will be positive. People are very absorbed by their daily life because of the economic situation here. I think there's a curiosity, there's interest in what the BRICS and joining the BRICS could mean for the country. But as we said then, generally speaking, it's viewed as a real opportunity for the country, but the future developments in terms of the presidential elections will also have an impact there too.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for the update. Joel Richards for us from Buenos Aires. Now let's get more on the BRICS Summit outcomes and bringing John Gong, Vice President of Research and Strategy at the University of International Business and Economics in Israel. Hi there, John. Good to see you. So BRICS has invited 6 new nations to join the bloc. Strategically, why these 6?
Well, I think it's a representation issue. I think these 6 countries represent important economies, large economies from different corners of the world. And I think also has to do with the existing members' strong recommendations. And for example, I can clearly see South Africa maybe pushing the 2 African countries to join. China certainly played a very important role in inviting Argentina to join, as well as maybe the 2 Arab states. You know, these are the new developments that greatly strengthen the BRICS dominance in world political and economic affairs, hopefully. So I think this represents a new chapter in the history of the BRICS.
Yeah, definitely. What are some of the areas of potential cooperation between these new countries and the existing member nations?
I think the overarching theme is still with respect to the idea of development. If you look at the declarations, economic development clearly, occupies a very important place. And I think with the two Arab states joining, the financing arm of BRICS, the New World Bank, would definitely have more funds to be available to be made to the developing economies. I think NDB is in a much, much better position with these two Arab states joining. And I think, again, it strengthens the drive for sustainable economic development for the BRIC member countries in particular, but the entire Global South in general.
And the leaders of the BRICS countries have all delivered important speeches during the summit. What are some of your key takeaways?
Well, to be honest with you, I am most impressed with South African President Ramaphosa's speech. He called out the international financial institutions. He also said very clearly that the developing countries will not be bullied into siding with any political position. I mean, these are very, very strong statements, pointedly addressed towards the West, and I think both economically as well as politically. So I think the speeches by all the 4 or 5 leaders have emphasized, that highlights the new the emerging force of the BRICS world. And I think the days of the Western dominance, as represented by the 7 richest countries club called the G7, is over.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Gong, for your insights. Please stay with us for later discussions in a bit. You're watching Global Business, still to come. The global markets are waiting for the speech by U.S. Fed boss Jay Powell later in the day, with traders increasingly worried the bank will hike interest rates further.
Amplifying the voices of emerging and developing economies, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, collectively known as the BRICS, have become a strong force in driving global growth.
The BRICS as a way to voice their dissatisfaction with the predominance of traditional Western powers.
As 2 of the 5 founding members, China and Brazil have played pivotal roles in shaping the BRICS framework.
Beyond the bilateral ties, Brazil and China, they also share common values and a vision for a more inclusive, for a more sustainable multilateral order.
With BRICS expansion in the works, what does an enlarged grouping mean for the Global South?
BRIC is not only 5 countries. They are the representative of emerging economy and developing economies in the world.
Join us on this week's Biz Talk, a joint production of CGTN and Brazil's Record TV, for more on the China-Brazil relationship and how it catalyzes win-win results within BRICS. Only on Biz Talk, only on CGTN.
The global markets will turn their attention to the U.S. Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell today. Mr. Powell will be speaking at the annual Central Bankers Conference in Jackson Hole in the U.S. state of Wyoming, where economists and policymakers are mulling how the world economy is changing. Markets expect Powell might signal that interest rates will remain higher for longer. U.S. stock futures pointed higher, while European markets saw a muted start to Friday's trade. European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde will also speak at the symposium later in the day. And the next moves for the ECB, recent comments from officials have highlighted divisions. To some other major headlines we're tracking at this hour. Asian markets fell ahead of a keenly awaited speech by Fed boss Jay Powell later on Friday. Traders are increasingly worried that the Fed will rise interest rates higher. Germany's economy registered 0 growth from April to June compared with the first quarter. It has added to a bleak outlook as the country battles stubborn inflation. Although the country's annual inflation rate slowed in July, it's still far above European Central Bank's 2% target. British consumers' mood perked up in August. The GfK Consumer Sentiment Indicator rose to -25 this month from a 3-month low of -30 in July, as lower inflation made people less pessimistic about the outlook for their finances. Europe's largest asset manager, Amundi, is adjusting its asset allocation strategy, shifting from west to east. This is a reflection of the Paris-based fund manager's perspectives on major economies. My colleague Lily Liu sat down with Vincent Mortier, Chief Investment Officer of Amundi, to get his views.
So we'll start with what is today the biggest economy in the world, the US, which is on a softening path in terms of growth. So for next year, we have a target of 0.6% growth, so very close to zero growth. Europe is quite slow growth, close to zero this year, next year. Good news are coming from East, so from Asia. So for asset allocation, when we compare the valuation levels, we tend to overweight economies which are growing faster, so Asia, and to underweight economies which are softening and which are quite expensive, so the US, for example.
Yes, let's talk about inflation. The number is cooling down in the US and Europe. What is your outlook for central bank moves going forward?
So now, indeed, the figures are a little bit softer, from 8 to 4, but it's the easy part. It's a base effect. Now the question mark is how you go from 4 to 2. We think it will be very difficult, and inflation will be volatile. We think inflation will stay above 3% for multiple years, in the US, in Europe, for different reasons. And as a result, central banks will not cut rates, and they may even increase again rates.
Yes, there are many uncertainties going on, and many people would call this a risk-off environment, and that certainly is not a very positive factor for the asset management industry. And how do you think can this industry cope?
So indeed, in such an environment, there are multiple issues that can arise, and our job is to avoid the big tail risks or the big idiosyncratic events or single name events. And there will be more and more of these. Our role is to manage money for the medium term and to protect the interests of our clients. And I believe in the next period, there will be more issues, more casualties, which will drive some players in difficulties. And it is where we should make a difference.
You're watching Global Business, still to come. China Northeast Asia Expo is underway in Changchun, Jilin Province, serving as a platform to help boost trade and investment in the region.
We are all connected. Across borders, across continents, connected by ideas, a shared humanity. Stay connected.
The 14th China Northeast Asia Expo is underway in Changchun, Jilin Province, serving as a platform to help boost trade and investment cooperation and development of the region. With the theme of Joint Development of Northeast Asia in Cooperation for the Future, this edition of the Expo has attracted over 1,000 exhibitors from home and abroad. Northeast Asia is one of the most dynamic regions in the world with world-leading research and development capabilities. The latest major scientific and technological innovation achievements are on display to the public during the Expo, covering the fields of intelligent manufacturing, modern agriculture, new materials, and new energy. Now for more on this, let's bring back Professor John Gong. So John, as an area undergoing revitalization, what are some of the development advantages of the Northeast region of China?
Well, I think the first advantage, of course, is the resourcefulness of their region. This place has a lot of natural resources, has a lot of land, and I think a more recent interesting development is the Russian angle. If you look at the trade between China and Russia in the last few months, and certainly including 2022, it has been shooting through the roof, actually. Sino-Russia trade has been increasing more than 70% on a year-to-year basis, and I think a lot of that growth is definitely benefiting the northeast region of China. We're starting to see more and more investment going into that area. Historically, or last 20 or 30 years, that area has been indeed lagging behind other parts of China, particularly the coastal areas, in terms of attracting investment. Now I think it's starting to change. The business environment in northeast China is getting better, and with the burgeoning trade between China and Russia, I think there got to be a lot of investment opportunities. And we have to see what's going to happen in the next few years with respect to the economic growth in that region.
Mm-hmm. And as an old industrial base, how can Northeast China better realize digital transformation, and what impact will digital transformation have on the local economic development?
Yeah, Northeast China has been traditionally the industrial belt, or in American jargon, people call it the Rust Belt. The industrial belts of China, they've established a lot of heavy industries going back many decades, actually. Now, we're rapidly entering into a digital age, and I think the old industrial base has to upgrade, has to catch up with the digital wave. And I think there's actually a lot of promises for entirely digitizing manufacturing, as we've been seeing in many parts of China. And I think in Northeast China, many great companies will be definitely doing the same thing, moving more and more towards digitization. The combination of digital technologies and traditional manufacturing can do wonderful things. Some time ago, I actually visited the automobile company, what's called FAW, the First Automobile Works, based in Changchun. This is a great company. They make great cars, a little bit more expensive indigenous cars. And I've already seen, the high level of automation in their factories. So with the help of digital technology, certainly they're moving towards that direction.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for your insights. Zhang Gong, Vice President of Research and Strategy at University of International Business and Economics, Israel. Hangzhou, the host city of the 19th Asian Games, and 5 co-host cities in Zhejiang Province are getting ready to welcome athletes and visitors from all corners of the world. The efforts being made include city image enhancements and upgrades, featuring both Asian Games elements and consumption trends. Our Zhang Huanming takes us to Zhejiang to experience the vibrant Asian Games atmosphere.
Asian Games elements are popping up everywhere in Hangzhou, the host city of the Games. The iconic commercial street Wuling Road, where I'm at right now, is trending on the internet. It now boasts airbrush artworks along the road and the country's largest gashapon machine. With enough luck, visitors can get the Hangzhou Asian Games mascots from it.
My child loves this gashapon machine. You really see ones this big. It's really striking.
The gashapon is only part of the project to upgrade Wuling Road. This is the old Queen's Park, also on Wuling Road. After the construction is finished, it will host a cluster of vintage-looking shops, and its neighbor, number 398 Wuling Road, will be turned into a hub of Chinese-style fashion brands.
We will renovate the road and turn it into a center for Chinese culture and female consumers. The project will be completed and open to the public by the end of 2023. We will also be adding the trendy city walk elements to the road.
In Hangzhou's Linping district, Fengcai Sports Park is now open to the public. What makes this park special is its distinctive rainbow guitar shape when viewed from above. When a metro runs through it, it appears to be just like the guitar string.
The guitar shape of the park makes it so different, and I'd like to recommend it to my friends. And in the evening, I also go for a stroll in the park with my kid.
In Jinhua, the Asian Games themed decorations are installed on the newly cut lawn near the expressway exit. In Shaoxing, the manhole covers on the main roads connecting to the Asian Games venues have been painted with the Asian Games elements. In Ningbo, the pillars and the backs of the elevated roads have been spruced up with Asian Games-related paintings.
Water is Ningbo's city theme. It is now combined with the Asian Games theme in the design, thus enhancing the Asian Games atmosphere.
Zhang Huanming, ZTV News for CGTN.
As a co-host city of the Hangzhou Asian Games, Huzhou is gearing up to host 3x3 basketball games and volleyball group matches. With just 30 days remaining until the Hangzhou Asian Games, our reporter Gong Ming visits the newly constructed basketball venue in Deqing County. Takes a look.
Located on the southern shore of Fengqi Lake, the innovative 3x3 basketball venue for the Hangzhou Asian Games has found its distinctive location atop the Huzhou Deqing Geographic Information Town Sports Center. This two-story steel structure spans an impressive 50,000 square meters and was completed in under 7 months, setting a new record for the fastest construction of an Asian Games venue. Here I'm inside the 3x3 basketball stadium covering an area of 1,700 square meters. Most of the spectator seating area is very close to the court, plus the open-air design on the top of the auditorium, making the people feel like they're watching the game on the street.
The 3x3 basketball game originated from the street basketball and urban culture in the United States. That's why we have chosen to locate our venue within an open space. During the design phase, we took into account spectators' experience, ensuring that the seating is comfortably close. This style of competition is greatly cherished by young and individuals due to its intense and highly competitive nature.
I began participating in 3x3 basketball during my first year of the university. At that time, we couldn't find professionally designed basketball courts like this. Following the Asian Games, this facility will be open to the public, which is particularly advantageous for basketball enthusiasts like us. This professional court is fantastic.
Adhering to the eco-friendly and cost-conscious principles of the Hangzhou Asian Games, the sports center carefully considered the post-event utilization of the venues from the very outset of the design phase.
The entire rooftop serves as a public park accessible to residents. Below, the indoor space includes a city exhibition hall, a youth center, and rooms reserved for future inter-city competitions. This design ensures that the entire building can be fully utilized after events, providing residents with a cultural and leisure destination to enjoy.
In just a month's time, the winners of the 2 gold medals for the 3x3 basketball competition at Hangzhou Asian Games will be determined right here. Being the world's first permanent 3x3 basketball stadium, this venue will not only host prestigious international events, but also aim to evolve into a training center for China's national 3x3 basketball team. Gong Ming for CGTN Deqing County, Huzhou.
And that will do it for this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Xiao Vandenberg in Beijing. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.